What is up, and welcome back to another episode of the Wizards podcast. I'm your host, Greg Finberg. I told you guys last episode I ran out of words to describe this team. I legitimately have no words to describe what I just witnessed. The Wizards were up by 5 with 14 seconds left in Detroit, a game that they had played phenomenal in and had weathered storm after storm. And they somehow found a way to lose. The young guys made a bunch of mistakes down the stretch. Brian Keefe certainly didn't do much to help out his young players down the stretch. And again, we're at this point where they have a double-digit fourth quarter lead against a team that they should beat. The Pistons had so many injuries. Cade Cunningham, I think, took 46 field goal attempts. This game was so winnable. It's actually impressive that they found a way to lose this game. And yet here we are about an hour after, and I'm talking about the team's ninth straight loss. How it gets to this point is just beyond me. I feel like I'm a broken record at this point, but you can't not talk about it. Like, what do you want me to do? Say, oh, CJ McCollum had 42 points. Who cares? Who cares? This guy's 34. He's playing 43 minutes in a game that you lost, and in a game, he's not going to be here in the future. So it's like, yeah, like CJ scored 42. He was great, by the way. Down the stretch, awful. But in the fourth quarter, he was awesome. He was the reason that the Wizards probably should have won this game, and they found a way to lose. Alex Sarr was pretty good. He seemingly disappeared at the end of the fourth quarter and in overtime. Keyshawn George missed that late free throw. It's unbelievable how we are at this point where it's just collapse after collapse after collapse. And when they're not collapsing and blowing fourth quarter leads, they're losing by 30 points. It gets to a point where you just can't defend it anymore. Like, we all know the end goal is to be bad and to lose a lot of games and to keep the pick. We know at this point that's gonna happen. I mean, look how bad this team is through 11 games of the season. They're 1-10. They've lost 9 in a row. But the seeming inability to close out games, to make those crucial adjustments and just kind of combat the runs that the other teams have, that's a coaching issue. Obviously, it's a personnel issue, but it's bad no matter who you blame. And I mean, I can't believe they lost that game. I had my final tweet ready, and even when they were up 3 with a couple seconds left, I was like, oh, like, just get a stop or foul. And I was like, surely they don't lose this game. And they did. They somehow did. And I'm gonna break it down. I'm gonna somehow find the strength to recap this. You can't start in the first quarter with a recap like this. You have to start at the inflection point, at the point where everything went wrong. The Wizards were up by 11 in the fourth quarter. The Pistons were creeping back, but the Wizards weathered the storm. Keyshawn hit a couple big shots. You had Alex Sarr in the beginning of the fourth quarter playing pretty well. CJ McCollum was nails down the stretch with a clutch threes and clutch floaters. Cam Whitmore was awesome off the bench. He had 20 points. All of these things were going right for the Wizards until the game was needed, on the line, and they needed someone to close it, and they just couldn't get to the finish line. I'll take you to this point. 124 to 117. Wizards lead with a minute and 10 remaining. What happens after that? I will read that out to you. I have the play-by-play up because I want to make sure that I'm not getting anything wrong here, and I'm actually, describing it perfectly. You got an Alex Sarr shooting foul. Cade makes both free throws. Middleton misses a 22-foot three. It was an okay look, just didn't go. Wizards up 5. 40 seconds left. They're fine. And they allow Cade to just go right down and get a layup. It's the same thing that they did against Philadelphia, if you remember. They were up 3, and they just allowed Tyrese Maxey to run right by Alex Sarr and get to the rim for the layup. The same thing happens to Cade. It's like, okay, fine. We're still up 3. 32 seconds left. Let's chill. McCollum gets the ball. He had been awesome all night. 38 at this point. Goes and hits a clutch floater with 14 seconds left. He was awesome. In the overtime, not great. We'll talk about that. But you can't talk badly about him. He was efficient. He had 40 through 4 quarters. He was awesome. puts the Wizards up 5. You're like, okay, that's probably the dagger. Like CJ McCollum with a 40 ball. The Wizards are going to beat the Pistons. This is a crazy win. And then the collapse happens. I tweeted, I didn't tweet it out actually at this point. I'll save that for now. Pistons call a timeout. Cade misses the layup with 7.6 seconds left. Okay. So with 3 seconds remaining, the Washington Wizards are up 126 to 124. After Dennis Jenkins hits the 3. 2-point lead. Not ideal, but fine. They had a couple chances to get the loose ball, didn't get it. You're still up 2. No timeout from Brian Keefe, just gets it in bounds, take foul. This is where it ends. Keyshawn George at the line, makes the first. If he makes the second, the game is over pretty much. And he misses. He had an up and down game. Fouled a lot, was good defensively on Cade especially during overtime, but misses the free throw. And then the inbounds play. There's so much to talk about on this play. You have your foul up 3 people where in this point, 1.9 seconds left. It's like, it's tough because it's going to probably be a catch and shoot for someone. So you're being very risky when that happens. I think it's safe to just not foul. That's fine. But you had 2 Pistons fall down during the play. Cade's inbounding the ball. He's a non-factor. They fall down. Duren is setting a screen for the guy that had fallen down. Nobody is even open or looking at the ball apart from Dennis Jenkins in the short corner. Bub Carrington has that assignment. And Bub was good. Bub was actually pretty good this game until that point. And Bub, if you watch the replay, is standing there. It looks like he's just falling asleep. He has his eyes on Cade, and then he's looking at the guys that fell, back to Cade, back to the guys that fell, and not once are his eyes on Dennis Jenkins, his man in the corner. Cade, it's about to be a 5-second violation, rifles a pass to the corner to Dennis Jenkins, and Bub is like, oh, crap, I have to recover. So he goes and gets a hand up, but Jenkins adjusts, gets it to the right side of his shot, and drills it at the buzzer. Tie game. What Bub Carrington was thinking in that spot, and I understand a lot of you guys are probably going to blame Brian Keefe, and he certainly didn't do too much to help his team down the stretch. That's not on him. That's on Bub Carrington. You have to know time and situation. And I don't know if Brian Keefe, I'm sure he was like, no threes. There is no reason for Bub Carrington to not be denying the ball to Dennis Jenkins there. His body should be between Cade Cunningham, the ball, and Dennis Jenkins, the potential shooter. What is Dennis Jenkins going to do? Run to the opposite corner? Then Cade has to make a cross-court pass, and Jenkins has to catch it, turn, and shoot. You need to be between your man and the ball. And Bub Carrington was neither, and he also wasn't looking at his man. He was looking at other people on the court. It's just unthinkable for something like that to happen in that situation. I get he's 20, he's young, but it doesn't matter. Like, Brian Keefe put him on the floor. That's another thing. Like, you have so many great defenders. Why are you putting Bub Carrington in at that point? You need to stop. Champagne's on the bench. Whitmore, who played good defense, he's on the bench. You have a bunch of other guys that you could have put in there instead of Bub Carrington. That's on Keefe for personnel, but it's hard to blame him for that blunder when it's so obvious to most just basketball players, let alone an NBA player, that you need to be in way better position. You actually need to be looking at your man when there's 3-point game with 2 seconds left. Just awful from Bob. A really bad mishap. We'll see if anybody asks him about it after the game. I don't know how many Washington media folks traveled to the game. From my Twitter perspective, I don't know how many did, but we'll see if they ask Bub about that post game. But just, you can't make that mistake, especially in that situation. You can't make that mistake. And I tweeted it out because I saw that it was 127-124 because Key missed the free throw. I tweeted out, they're really not at that point. That was later down the line. I tweeted out at 9:40 p.m. Eastern time. There's no way they blow this, right? I remember, I mean, obviously I remember I was the one that tweeted it, but I remember, I'm just going to tweet this just in case. Then I can quote tweet it and say, oh my God, they actually blew it. But, there's actually no way that with 1.9 left, they're going to lose, right? They're either going to foul up 3 or they're going to get a stop. And then he hit the shot, and I was just I had no words. I just sat there for 10 seconds. I was like, there's actually no way that they lost this game. Not lost this game, but that they blew the lead. And at that point, I think me and all Wizards fans can say confidently, you knew the game was over. You knew Detroit had the momentum. You knew Cade was back from that fall. You knew in a tough environment that this team just didn't have it to close this game out. And you were right, like I was, if you believe that. Um, and they blew it. I tweeted out, I quote tweeted that tweet, and I said, "Oh my God, they actually blew it." And I actually tweeted out a screenshot. It's pretty funny. It's like my tweet, "There's no way they blow this, right?" And then on top, "Oh my God, they actually blew it," which is just the Wizards season in a snapshot. Like the fact that they just find ways to lose games is unbelievable, and the fact that I'm surprised when they do it. I'm not surprised that they found a way to lose. It's the way that they did. They invent new ways to lose. There were 10 to 12 chances throughout the final, like 30 to 40 seconds that they had to close this game out, and they messed every single one up, it seems, which is crazy to think. It just an unbelievable loss for this team. Um, I mean, where else do you go? I mean, overtime, we can talk about that. This team, I mean, they don't have a closer. Like I mentioned, like Alex Sarr was awesome tonight, but he's not that guy down the stretch. And it's hard for centers to be that guy down the stretch, especially when you're 20. But you see in overtime, like Cade kind of took over for a little bit. Keyshawn had a couple stops on Cade, which was great. But you have CJ McCollum in overtime. Let's see what his stats were in overtime. CJ with one miss, two misses. Then we got a make. Whitmore was actually great. He had 5 points in overtime. Um, McCollum with a miss. McCollum with another miss. I think McCollum was 1 for 6 from the field in overtime. And that's not to take away from the 42 points on efficient shooting he had in the first 4 quarters in regulation. But they just went to him, and he had a couple just really blanketed threes, a couple tough runners that he couldn't get to go. I think it was pretty fitting that at the end of the game when the Wizards were trailing by 2, again they had another shot to win it with 6 seconds left in overtime. C.J. McCollum takes a sidestep 3 and hits the side of the backboard. One of the worst shots I've ever seen. It was just a fitting way to end what was just an embarrassing collapse, another embarrassing loss. And again, not to take away, like I thought CJ was the reason that they were even going to win and probably should have won this game, but they didn't. I mean, how many times do we have to be in this situation before you talk coaching changes? I didn't think I'd be here. I tweeted after the game. I was like, it gets to a point where when the team continues to lose winnable games, it's no longer a personnel or talent thing. Like I understand Detroit was injured, but they have Cade. He's been phenomenal. I mean, Jalen Duren has been one of the best centers in the league this season. They have guys. They're 8-2, and they were tops in the East entering this game. You went on the road, and you should have won this game. You were up 5 with 14 seconds left. You found a way to lose, but your guys were talented enough to get it done. Just like they were talented enough to beat the Sixers, to beat the Hornets. They were talented enough to beat the Mavericks. It's all of these things that they could be, and they're not there. And so when you get to that point, it's like, what are we doing? Where are we going wrong? And a lot of times in these situations, the coach is the scapegoat. The coach is the guy you look at and say, you got the talent, you're just not getting it done. Will that happen in midseason? I would be shocked if they fired Brian Keefe in the middle of the season. There's just zero chance that they look at these results and say, we're disappointed. Like the fans are disappointed because they have to watch and put up with this, year after year. This is year 3 of a rebuild where, the fans are being told by the front office to be patient. And they're being told by the front office, like, just be okay with losing 65 to 70 games. Like, that's easy for a front office and a team to say, but it's not easy for a fan base to accept year after year. And when you give the fan base glimpses of hope like you have this season, when you see that Keyshawn is great and Alex Sarr has been phenomenal, possibly the best player in his rookie class alongside Stephon Castle at the moment. You have guys like Trey Johnson, who again tonight against Detroit flashed some really nice offensive stuff. You have guys, you have talent. You are in these games and should be winning more than just one of your first 11, and you're not getting it done. And I think the fan base is done with Keefe. I think they're fed up. They're sick and tired of watching these young guys play so well for 3.5 quarters just to have it thrown away. Whether it's Keefe's late game blunder against Dallas, whether it's some of the rotations and the players he had in the game. I mean, down the stretch with a minute 30 left, he didn't have Cam Whitmore in the game. That was your second best player tonight offensively and even defensively alongside CJ McCollum. And Sarr was great too, but you didn't have him in the game. And with the game on the line defensively, you decided to go with Bub Carrington, who, again, I didn't think was awful defensively tonight, but is certainly not one of your top five defenders. And you went with him. And on top of all of the other times where Keefe simply cannot weather the storm, he simply cannot do enough to get his team over the hump. Fans are done. They've seen enough and they want to change. Can you definitively, if you're Will Dawkins, sit here and blame them for it? No. Now, will Dawkins make that decision? I would again be pretty surprised if that happens. If you're the Wizards front office, you're like, this is great. All of our draft picks look awesome. Maybe not Bub Carrington, but even against Detroit, he looked. It was probably his best game of the season. You have your draft picks playing very well. CJ McCollum, 40 ball, yes please. That's great for his trade value. Chris Middleton has had some good games, some pretty bad games, and also been injured. The trade value may be there, maybe not. But these are all good things. And you are an NBA worst 1-10. You've lost 9 straight games. Well, Dawkins is probably like, why are you guys upset? This is awesome. I get to keep my pick in the first round, get probably the best chance at getting a top 3 pick to get some of these awesome prospects, and all of my draft picks look like gems. So I understand it from that perspective. He's probably not too mad at Keefe, and I don't think that he's going to make the decision to fire him, especially mid-season. But for fans to be upset, that's completely warranted. Brian Keefe has not done a good job. He hasn't. He's done a good job to develop these guys, I think, and I think he's had good game plans. I mean, the Wizards were great early in this game. But with these Brian Keefe led teams that they're always going to find a way to lose. And that can't happen from a head coach. You can't have your fan base knowing that when the going gets tough, this team's going to fold. Especially when they're young, that they need to lean on that head coach. And he simply hasn't gotten it done through 11 games. And I don't even think that's an overreaction. I don't. I mentioned the goal of the season. I understand that. That's pretty clear. I've said it 30 times this episode. But when you continue to lose games like this, like you did against Philadelphia, games that no matter where you're trying to go this season, no matter what the end goal is, how many losses you want, you should not lose these games. It doesn't matter. And they're still finding ways to lose. They're still not learning how to get it done. And that can't happen. I almost don't even want to break down the rest of the game because I think it's just pretty irrelevant, pretty redundant, but I will because why not? Like I mentioned, CJ was awesome. 16 in the first quarter on 5 of 5. Whitmore, I believe, had 11 in the first quarter on 4 of 4 from the field, or 10 in the first quarter. He was awesome. Alex Sarr was good on the offensive glass. I mean, Duran's an animal, but again, Sarr, 10th straight game with 2+ blocks. I really liked the activity that I saw from him. Apart from that, Sarr I think finished with 15 points, I believe, I want to see his splits. 7 of 16 from the field, 1 of 5 from three. Again, I think that's 1 of 12 over his last 3 from three, so that's not good. But 15 points, 15 boards, 2 blocks. That's a pretty solid effort in 37 minutes. Keyshawn, 14 points on 5 of 10. That's solid. But again, 5 fouls, had 3 in the first 17 minutes. Fouling still an issue. He had some great passes, though. 6 assists, 4 boards. I love his vision. I'm fine with him playing that lead guard role. Trey Johnson had a couple tough finishes. You could see in overtime, when he got the ball, even he shot one, it was short. When he got the ball, he was pretty antsy. He'll have to learn in those moments, but I like that he got run at that time. He's going to need to play close games at some point. Middleton, he's just gotten, I think, progressively worse as the season has gone on. 26 minutes, 6 points on 3 of 10 from the field. 0 of 3 from 3 was a -10. CJ, I mean, 42, 6 and 4 on 14 of 25, 5 of 10. He was a plus 9. He was sensational. I mean, in overtime, he was really bad. But he was also gassed. Like they had asked him to do so much. So I know people have been hard on CJ, but that's now 25, 25, and 42 over his last 3 games. He has not been the problem. He hasn't. As much as people scapegoated him in the beginning of the season, I'm not one to say that I didn't, give him a fair share of the blame for the Wizards' struggles early. But he is not the reason they lost this game. He was awesome. Cam Whitmore, his best game as a Wizard, back to back, realistically. I mean, 20 points in 29 minutes, 6 of 11 from the field. Was a plus 3, 2 steals. I thought he was awesome defensively, really good activity on that end. Um, no gripes about him. He had a poster dunk. There was the play on Cade also, like late in that fourth quarter, where they called a tech on Bickerstaff for complaining, but then a TO on Whitmore, plus the foul. It seemed like he got all ball. Like maybe Bub got Cade with the body, but it was like an 8-minute review, and the Wizards challenge after the fact, and it was unsuccessful. I thought he got all ball. And then he picked up a T for staring down Cade after, which is pretty funny. I like that edge though. Like if he can play with that type of edge and like instead of getting mad at Keefe getting mad at him, get mad at Cade, get mad at the other team, play physical because Cam was awesome, and I thought that realistically down the stretch he deserved more. I thought that he deserved to play with the game on the line. I really did. And with 144 left, Keyshawn came in for Cam. And I'm fine with Key playing, but at the same time, like Cam Whitmore had been your second best player tonight. He was fantastic, and you went with Chris Middleton down the stretch, who was awful, point blank, not good. And that's where we get to this point, right? Brian Keefe, Will Dawkins said in the preseason, minutes will be earned, not given this season. I'll repeat, minutes will be earned, not given this season. It sure seems like minutes are being given at this point. I get playing CJ. He was awesome. Keyshawn, fine. You want to play Bob Carrington? That's okay. He was all right. Alex Sarr, makes sense. But what are you doing playing Chris Middleton over Cam Whitmore? I mean, Brian Keefe can't tell me that Chris Middleton earned those late game minutes more than Cam Whitmore did. I mean, that's ridiculous to say. And he gave them to Middleton. For what? For what reason? It's not like Whitmore was in foul trouble. It's not like Whitmore had played bad. You said that minutes would be earned. And you are giving them out to Middleton over Whitmore for zero reason. There's no merit behind that. Just the fact that Middleton started and he's more experienced. That's not what you preached in the preseason. Again, defense is what you preached as well, and we know that that hasn't been the case. So it's not like it's really shocking that his words aren't being taken or shouldn't be taken at face value. But look, at the end of the day, it's just so many errors at this point. Um, and I mean, it goes back to Bub, obviously, just falling asleep. Keyshawn missing that free throw would have ended the game. There's so many things that a young team needs to do, and hopefully they learn from it. Like, at the end of the day, I understand the Will Dawkins philosophy. Like, Washington played awesome tonight. This was a really good effort against a really good Detroit team. They are injured, that's fine, but they're still playing good basketball. And Washington did, more than enough to go on the road in a tough environment and win that game. If you're looking at the tank, you're like, this is the banner loss. You play awesome, the young guys look great, you find a way to lose, and you remain the worst team in the league. But the issue and the frustration, I think, from the fan base and from myself is when it happens as much as it does. And believe me, it's happened a lot through 11 games, a lot more than you probably expect. When it keeps happening, you kind of forget why it's happening, and you got to circle back to it. But it's these compounding of errors. It's the fact that this team continues to find ways to lose. It's the fact that last game Brian Keefe told Keyshawn George to foul when they didn't need to. It's the fact that he took Cam Whitmore out with the game on the line and put Chris Middleton in when he shouldn't have done that. It's the fact that Bub Carrington was unprepared to go out there and guard his man. It's all of these things. And then you have 5 minutes in overtime to wipe the slate clean and get it done, and you still can't do it. It gets to a point. I keep saying that. It gets to a point. You understand what I'm inferring here. It won't get to that point, I don't think now or even throughout the year. But you can't tell me after 82 games, if we're still doing this, that Brian Keefe should still be the guy leading this team. You can't tell me that should be the case. Um, I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at my notes right now. I don't I don't have much other than my just shock at how they lost. I'm a broken record. I know. I don't want to keep extending this episode if I have nothing else to add. I simply can't believe they lost. I can't. I should believe it because they keep losing games like this. Like I shouldn't be surprised. But I think I can speak for you guys listening too when it's like you get to a point where you're like, surely not this one. Like I understand that they have lost these games before, but there's actually no chance they blow a 5 point lead with 3 seconds left. When Dennis Jenkins picked up that ball with 3 seconds left, you let a 5 point lead, and you were like, "There's no way." But there was a way. Somehow, some way, there was a way. I mean, credit to Detroit. They're a really good, well coached team. It's kind of a model for what you want from the Wizards. I mean, they drafted a bunch of pretty much all of their talent. They developed it, and now they're 9-2, number one in the East. They gritted out this win. Dennis Jenkins was awesome. He's a player. Cade Cunningham shot terribly, but I mean, he's so tough. Like it was so hard for Washington to guard him. And I think they did a great job guarding him. He just took 46 shots. They struggled to defend Duran. Just a compounding of errors that leads to this just, I mean, unthinkable loss. They're now 1-11. That's 9 straight losses. I have the statistic, or I don't know if I should save this until, I mean, because they're gonna lose their next game. I think they play, is it Cleveland on on the road? I actually want to check that real quick because I don't know who they play. Sorry, Houston on the road. That is a loss. I hate to break it to you, which would be 10 straight losses. I actually did some research. Um, Fun fact, there have been 18 losing streaks of 10 or more games over the last 2 seasons. If the Washington Wizards lose this next game, I'm pretty sure that would make 4 of those owned by the Washington Wizards. The other 3 are 16-game losing streaks. But I mean, they continue to find new ways to lose, and um, it gets to a point where you just can't defend it anymore. I'm curious to see what Keefe has to say now about this loss. I'm sure he's going to get on there and tell you that it was a great effort, gritty performance, just a couple plays away from winning the game, and they'll fix that in practice and they'll be better. I honestly, maybe that's spot on. I've watched every Brian Keefe press conference this year. I tweeted out what he said after the Dallas game with the foul. If there's anything noteworthy, I'll obviously tweet that out. So stay tuned to the Twitter at Greg Finberg. But that's it, man. I'm tired. I don't know how they lost that game. Maybe when I wake up tomorrow, I'll have more answers. Maybe Brian Keefe has some answers. I don't think those matter. I don't think the fan base cares what his answers are. I think they're done. And can you blame them? Not really. And I'll leave you at that. That's going to do it for this episode. Um, Wizards lose 137 to 135 in overtime. They are now 1-10, which is an NBA worst. And they have lost 9 straight games. It'll extend to 10 at Houston, and they come home on the 16th off 3 days rest to play the Brooklyn Nets. If they lose that game, then real conversations definitely need to be made. But that's going to do it for this episode. As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for bearing with me in what's been just another really tough season. A lot of losing, but you guys are always active in the comments. You guys are always, listening, liking the tweets, DMing me, commenting. That's what keeps me going, and I appreciate all you guys for doing that. That's why I try to respond to them all. So, again, appreciate that. It's going to do it for this episode, though. Thanks for listening. Go Wiz.